Hey everyone, welcome back to the part 3 of this dartfrog full course. If you have been following the dartfrog series, we have built an intro API in the part 1 and also a full crud Todo backend in the part 2. So today is the PO basically. So we'll be connecting a Flutter frontend to our dartfrog server for true full stack Dart. So there will not be need for any third party like Firebase or Superdays. Everything will just be pure Dart magic. So we'll build a to-do app that creates read, update, and delete, all talking to our local server. So that's basically it. So we'll be building our Flutter app that communicates to the backend. I mean the dartfrog backend that we built in the part 2. So if you have not watched the part 2, make sure to check it out. The link will be in the description below. So just a quick plan. In our Flutter, we'll be using two things. Dio for HTTP is better for interceptor or an error handling. So we'll be using Dio. We'll be using Riverpod as well for state management. So just a simple UI, list view plus form, and that is basically it. So back to our backend project. In our backend project, we are pretty much done. There's no need for any changes in our backend project. But something we must keep in mind is we have to add a middleware. Middleware basically is to avoid cross resources sharing. That is a middleman gaining access to our backend services, not using the required stuff. And if you check through dartfrog documentation here, where they have middleware, so you can see middleware in dartfrog allow you to execute code before and after a request is processed. So with this, we are just going to create a logger. So the logger will lodge every request that anybody is passing to, is making the request to, like from the front end or whatsoever. So inside this to do, and if you check through the documentation, you just scroll down to create a middleware. We can just call dartfrog new middleware, then the route. So I'll just copy this. So that's that. Our route is to do. So I'll just paste this here. Then I will say slash to do's like this. So this will take few seconds and it creates the file. So this is the to-do file. So now we are going to update this file to lodge any request, and also to create some content that we want to accept basically. So let me just delete this. Then we can start our middleware. So what we just have to do is just return the handler. So I'll just say handler like this. Then use. Then it will be request logger. So request logger should be like this. So inside the request logger now, then we can declare some handler that we want to use. So let's say contest like this. Then so let me close this. All right, so inside our contest now, we can just declare some header that is allowed. For anybody that is sending a request to our endpoint, that is allowed. So we can just say final response should be equal to await. And for us to use await, we have to declare this as asynchronous. So let me just do that. So async, then so await handler contest like that. So after handler contest, then we can now return the response, the header that we actually want. So response.copy with, so just say copy with like this. So copy with the header. So for any request, this will be passed to the header as well. So you can just say access control, then allow, then origin should just be asterisk like that. Yeah. So access allow method as well. So for our access allow method, we are allowing get post put because of the update. We're allowing put, we are allowing delete as well, then option. So that's all the method that we're allowing. Then access control allow header as well. So the header we are just allowing, let me just change this. Instead of origin, it should just be content type. Yeah, so just keep it simple like that. All right, so yeah, we are good to go. So let me just close this bracket. Yeah, so that's that for our middleware. So this is the middleware that we are creating, and we are good to go. So the next thing is just to start our server, which is dartfrog dev, and we are good to go. So start the server dartfrog dev, and also to test our our endpoint, you can just run the localhost and see the data, but currently we don't have any data, so there's no need for that. So now to start our Flutter project, I will open a new VS Code tab. So let me just open a new window. So let me move it to this side so we can switch between the screens. All right, so our VS Code tab, I will create a new Flutter project basically. So let me just do that. Let me just say Flutter project. Let me call it, okay, let me just put it here. I'll call it Flutter to do dartfrog. Sorry, should be dartfrog. Yeah, so this will take a few seconds. Let me just change. All right, yeah, trust. All right, that will take a few seconds, but let me just change the shape of this. Few seconds. All right, so our Flutter app is up and running already. So these are Flutter, just a dummy data, our boilerplate code. So as I mentioned earlier, the quick plan is to use Dio and Flutter Riverpod for state management and Dio for HTTP requests. So that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be building a simple UI and to contain the list of to do, and also to be able to create a new to do, and also to update a to do, and as well to delete a to do. So the first thing is to create a model, and just like we have inside our endpoint here, our to do model, you can see that we have ID, title, and completed here. So the same thing that we have inside our model here. So I will create 3 folders. I will create models folder, our providers, and our services folder. So while we are still changing the file, let me just run this app. So while we are editing, we can have the app run here. So now inside our lib folder, let me just create a new folder. I'll call it models. So models like this, then I'll create a new file inside the models. Let me just call it todo.dart. So inside our todo.dart now, then we can create our class. So I'll just say class. And also mind you, let me just quickly do something. If I load, like, since we already start our server and the localhost is 8080, if I go to localhost 8080, let me just copy this 8080 like this. All right, 8080, as you can see, okay, to this, yeah, okay, our list is currently empty. If I create a new, let me just see if I can quickly create a new list now. This is my postman. Okay, all right, let me just create a new request like this. All right, so let me paste that again. Let me say to this. So I will just add a new to do now. I just want to quickly show you something. You can instead of manually like writing what's it called, instead of manually writing model, we can as well just convert a JSON to that. So let me just say this is my first to do. All right, so yeah, to do created. So let's just refresh this. So as you can see that this has generated the JSON format. I can as well just, let me just say, I'm just run this. Okay, sorry, just change this to get instead, so I can get the raw JSON format here. So you can see the JSON format, so I can just copy it. So I can go to this website called .QuickType. So this .QuickType can convert the JSON format to a dart class. So I can just give it a class name, let's say to do, then convert. As you can see, it has generated the to do class. So that's basically a simple way to do it, but for tutorial sake, I can just write it manually. Our app is already up and running, so let's be fast with this. So I just create a model. Let's just say to do. So to do like this. So inside our to do, we are just checking 3 things, which is ID, title, and completed. So let's say string ID. Our ID is a string, then title, then this should be a boolean, completed, then let's just say to like this. Yeah, so it's required. So that's basically it. ID title is completed, which is by default false. So that's it. So we'll create a copy width because we want to update the data. So copy width like that. So our ID, which is title, and completed like that. So we can now say return, which is return this particular data, ID, title, and completed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then we can now create a map. So just map string like this, which is string dynamic. We are converting it to JSON. So the ID, title, completed. And also mind you, inside our model this is the key, which is completed. So we have to change this, instead of completed to is completed like this, because that's what we are expecting. All right, so the last thing now is the factory. So there's a factory to do, so which is string dynamic as well, is completed like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this to do. Now there's an error here, so we'll just quickly fix that with string return to do. Okay, so all right, so yeah, we are good to go. So now the next thing now is to create a provider. So as I mentioned earlier, we are working with Riverpod, so I will create a another folder inside our lib. So I will call it providers. So if we just call it provider like that, then I will say to do providers, the provider, so to do provider like that. So inside this our to do provider, this is where we just be creating the notifier, so where we are like listening to all the API services that will be creating. Yeah, so basically we'll create a new service, but before that, let's just install Flutter Riverpod into our dependency. So I will just do that with Command P or Control P, then the greater than sign, then I can just say add that dependency like this, then I can type Flutter Riverpod like that. All right, so adding Flutter Riverpod, so it will be added to our pub spec if you check in few seconds. So yeah, so while waiting for that, it has been added already. So inside our to do provider now, so we just create an API service. So we can just say API service provider should be equal to the provider. So just to ref. All right, which is API service. So we are going to create the API service shortly. So let's just put API service like that. Yeah. So the next thing now is to now create a to-do list provider. So let's just say to-do list provider, which is equal to, we'll be using the async notifier provider. So async notifier provider. So this is it, async notifier provider like that. And the provider is just basically a to-do list notifier. So just say, let me just choose this. So let's just say to-do list notifier. So to-do list notifier. Then the list of to-do. You can say to-do. All right. So yeah. So that's it. So now we can now see inside our to-do like that. All right. So quick one. We'll just return a to-do list notifier, and that's pretty much it. So just say return to-do list notifier. Let's close this. All right, so for all of these, we are going to still create like the to-do list notifier. We are also going to create the list to do. So to close all this error, but there's an error, like just a closing bracket here. All right, so now the next thing now is to create the to-do list notifier. So you can just say tags, then to-do list notifier. So we can say extend async notifier provider, async notifier, just async. So just extend async notifier, then the list to do. So that's pretty much it. All right, so inside our to-do list notifier, what we are just doing is the to do and to update as well, like the toggle to check if you have completed the to do, and also to delete basically. So inside our to do now, we can just override. Let me calm down a little bit. I think we missed something inside this particular one. Let me just check through if there's anything we are missing here. All right, list notifier, then bracket brackets. All right, so inside this our class Todo, the next thing now is just to create an override for our feature. So I'll just say override. So there's some bugs that we are going to face later, but let's just finish this first. So override, then the feature, the list of our Todo. So Todo, so build, let's mark it asynchronous. Then just return a watch over our API service basically. So API service provider, then dot get to this. That's just basically so dot get to this like that. Then after that we can now create a feature to add new to do. So we can say feature, a function feature, that'll be a feature function, whichever one. Yeah, so can say string title, then to be a feature obviously. Then we can check the state, which is got to const async loading. So just checking the current should be async loading. Yeah, so check the state. Then we can as well wait the guide as well. So let me check through. This is what I want to know, so let me just write it. So await, then async value. So async value dot guide. So the guide basically, so inside the guide now we can now update the new to do. So let's just say async like that. Then asynchronous, then we can say find a new to do. New to do will be equal to the to do model. If you remember, we created to do model. So inside the to do model, we'll be using UUID just like we did inside our inside this where they use, okay, inside our create to do, inside our backend where we use it to generate new what's it called, new ID. So here as well we'll be using it because when the user wants to create a new ID, we are going to use this this UUID as well. So I'll just install the package here as well. So and just say UUID like that. So inside it to do now, I can now say ID. So ID const, so UUID v4. The title should be title, then the completed should be false by default. So that's pretty much it. So here we can just read the API service. So read, then the API service. We're still going to create the API service. So API service, API service provider, then add to do. Let me change this to create to do. So that's that. Then the next thing now is to fetch. So once we add, we want to fetch the to do as well. So we can just say instead of to do's, so it will just be final to do, which is await. We are just getting the after adding, basically what we are doing is after submitting a no request, then we fetch the list so we can have the updated data. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this. So let me import this UUID package here. Yeah, okay. So the next thing now is to, let me close this as well to minimize the error we're having. So the next thing now is our toggle, that is to update basically. So it will just be a feature function again. So void. So let me just say toggle to do. Just call it toggle to do like that. So to do then the asynchronous. Then we can now check for the state again, which is async loading. So async loading like that. So that's that. Then the next thing now is to update the data as well. So just say state is equal to await async value, sync value dot guide. So inside our guide now we can now do whatsoever. So we can just first of all create the asynchronous. Then we can now read the data, that is update the data. And if you check inside our model, we created a copy width. The copy width basically is to get the value of all the existing data. Then we can now like instead of like updating the old data, we can update just a particular field and fetch the other feed basically. So that's the copy with. So inside our to do, can just say final then update updated to do should be equal to do dot copy with to do dot copy with copy with. So let me import this to do model so we can have it easy peasy. So to do should be equal to copy with. So copy with, then what you just want to update here is just the completed basically. So completed, I'm coming, let me check, is this imported already? Model to do, okay. So yeah, so to do copy with, which is complete, then complete will now be equal to not complete, I mean the opposite of what we currently have basically. So sorry, completed, yeah. Well, sorry, let me confirm, is it completed or complete? Okay, it's completed. All right, this then also should be completed. All right, so that's that for our updates. Then the next thing now is just to update to call the API service. So we can just say await rev.read, then the API service, which is update the to do. Then the next thing now is to fetch the new to do, then return the required data again. So that's pretty much it about this this to do. Yeah, so let me confirm. I want to check why this error is still here. So which is to do isn't a type, use the existing to do provider. Did we add it to do earlier where we are not supposed to? Okay, you know what, we'll update all these errors later, so let's just continue for now. I think. All right, I'm trying to confirm why this to do, so let me just quickly run through it. API service don't have that yet. Okay, this should have two double sign. I can see it here, so let me just check. Yeah, so life is much easier. So all the error has been cleared. Yeah, so now the next thing now is to create the delete as well. So the delete, we can just say feature what. So let me just quickly be fast with this. So this is the to do, I mean the delete. So the delete, basically we are requesting for the ID of the to do the user want to delete. Then we check the loading state, then the get as well, which is calling the API service, then await, we get the to do after deleting the to do, that particular to do. So that's pretty much about this our to do provider. So the next thing now is to create like the API service that we want to integrate our Dio and also call our endpoint basically. So I'll create a new folder here. I'll call it services. Then inside services, I'll create a new file. I'll just call it API service. So API service dot. So inside the API service, just create a new class API service. Yeah. So let me just import it here basically. All right. API service. All right. So we create for all this later. So inside the API service now, so we just create all the function pretty fast. So we are using Dio, and to use Dio, let me install the package. So which is Dio like that. Mind you, all the package are installed inside PubStack. I've installed Flutter Riverpod UUID. Now I'm installing Dio. So make sure to install it as required. So I'll just call final, then the Dio package like this. We go to Dio. So inside Dio, we just use basic function of Dio, nothing complicated. So let's just say basic option. The basic option, let me close this. All right, so the basic option, the base URL first of all, and also mind you, since we are on a local server, for Android simulator you have to use like an IP address which is 10.0.2.2, then the 8080. But for iOS or even on a real device, we can use the locals 8080 if you're on the same network. Yeah, so base URL like that. Let me just put string for now. Then we can as well say connect timeout. So connect timeout, just set it 5 seconds. We can set receive timeout as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this base URL. Let me just quickly do that now. Let me check if the platform is Android. So platform dot 100. Okay, dot is 100. So let me just undo that. Is 100. Yeah, do this, otherwise do that. Yeah, so let's import the platform. Or that made a mistake. Okay, we should just import that IO for platform. All right, so that's pretty much. So for 100 now, you have to listen to HTTP. I think, yeah, this is the correct URL. So for Android, you have to listen to 10.2.2, then the 8080. But for the other platform, we can just use the localhost. If you're on the same network, that's when it will work, because we're on local server. So that's pretty much for our Dio integration. So the next thing now is just to create the function to make requests to the API, the get to do, the create to do, update to do, and delete to do. So without further ado, let's just dive it straight in. So just create a feature which is just loading an API. So you can call it list, then to do. So you can just say get to do like this. So let me just check through this suggestion and probably just update so as to save time. All right, so this to do, let me import this our model. All right, so inside to do now, that's that. All right, I am outside the API service, so let me go back. So let me just delete all this. I forgot that I'm outside the API service, so this should be where we should create our function. So our get method, basically, so we are getting the method like this. We create a list to do, so we create a get method which is get to do. So instead of our get to do, the normal way how we make a request to endpoints, how we connect to API. So we just create a new response, then with Dio that we have created a constructor here already, which is underscore Dio. So we call Dio.get, then the URL, I mean the route, which is the endpoint, since we already declared the base URL here. So this is the base URL. So what we are just listening to is the to-dos, just like how we did here. So how we use this to-do. So that's the route. So the to-do, so we use get method. So we just get the method as this as list, then we save it inside the to-do model. I mean the to-do model like this. So I can say to-do JSON here. That's pretty much it. So I can map this as a map, so I can just say map string and dynamic like that. So that's pretty much it for that. We can as well use try and catch in case of error, just to make things easy. So I can just say try, let me just say catch as well. So you can just let me just copy this, cut, move, then yeah, so catch just to in case of error, so we can as well just return this. So, and if today is not list, we can as well return an empty list here. Like for example, inside this to do now, we can check if response, can say if response.data is list, then we can save the list. Otherwise, if it's not list, let me move this. So if it's list, we can just, let me move everything like this. If it's a list, we can move like this. Then if it's not list, we can just return empty list like that. Yeah, so that's pretty much for our get. So the next thing now is create. So let me just say future void. So this will be create to do. So our create to do is pretty simple. So what we are just doing is the to do, since we already create a model, the model that we have here, which is this model. So we are just passing the ID title and it's completed, which we are setting to false by default. Sorry, where am I? All right, yeah, API service. So which is to do. Then what we are passing to it is this particular to do JSON. So when we are creating to do, we are passing the O to do, which is the ID, the title, and the is completed basically. So that's for our create. Then the next thing now is to update. So the update is pretty much like to do. Mind you, instead of get if we realize we just get here, this is post. So that's for create. So this next one, which is update, will be put. Yeah, so update. So you can see update to do, we just use put, and we as well listen to the ID of that to do before we update the data. So that's pretty much it for this. So we are updating data here, and we are updating that particular to-do ID. So that's that. So the next thing is delete. So delete, pretty much like put, but instead of put, we are just calling delete, and we are good to go. So that's pretty much of on integrating the, what's it called, the Dio and Riverpod. So here we have integrate our endpoint, and we are good to go. So the next thing I just to build the URL. So inside our Flutter app, I'll just create file. So dot like this. Then inside our main.dat. So inside our main.dat, I'll just update the data. Let me delete all this boilerplate code here so we can see what we're doing. All right. So let me delete this. We'll not be needing this. Okay. Inside our home, I'm just create a simple page for now. Yeah. So let's just say home screen. All right. Yeah. So inside our main.dat now, since we are using Riverpod, then we have to provide the provider scope. So I'll just, let me change this to provider scope. Sorry, scope like that. So inside the provider scope, then we have our material. So import Riverpod, then we can call the child, which is my app. So that's pretty much for this. So instead of my app now, we can just call the home screen instead of this. So just say const home screen. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me just change, you can see the US change. Let me just change this guy to do app like this. I might likely update this code after this recording, just to make the UI a little bit better. So make sure to check it out on GitHub for the updated code here. So the next thing now is just to update our home page. So I will just quickly update the home page so we can be fast with this. Yeah. So yeah, so we're on the home page now. So the first thing inside our build, we have to listen to, or we have to watch the to-do list provider that we have here. So this is our to-do list provider. You have to watch it because this is where we are making requests to the API service, and also all the changes, I mean all the API calls basically. So inside our home page, I'll just create a variable. Let me just say to those async basically. Let me just call it that. Then I can say rev.watch. By the way, instead of what's it called, stateful widgets, let's just switch this to consumer widgets so we can use Riverpod consumer widgets like that. Yeah. So rev.watch, then we can say our to-do list provider. So here we have to call widgets ref, then ref like that. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Yeah. So now we can just do some simple design, and we are good to go. So for the first thing, let me just change this to a scaffold. Then let's create an abba. Let's just say abba like that. Abba. Then inside our abba, we can remove this title. Okay, so we can just create a title. Let's say to-do list. Then inside our body, just create a column. Column. Am I forgetting the spelling of column? So yeah, so that's that. So yeah, and how to add as well, just add a floating action button. So inside our floating action button, then we can have this add to do. Let me check my console. So let's refresh the app. This should be updated by now. All right. So this is our to-do. This is just a simple screen. So the first thing now, we'll be fetching our to-do list and we'll be adding. So let's first of all create the fetch list. So we can first of all fetch the list. Then from there we can what's it called? We can add new list as well. So to fetch the list, I will just call this to do async. So to do async now, inside this our list. Where's the okay? So I can just say to do async dot when. So to do async dot when. So we have the data. So the data will just be to those. I'm just say to those like that. Then this should just be we create a new what's it called, list for this. For error, for the error, let's just create something simple, which is error, let's say stock as well. So we can just say error basically. So just put test and just say error. So let's log the error as well to see the error. Yeah. And for loading, we can just add the loading states. Let's say circular progress indicator. Yeah. So I can just say, yeah, okay, let's remove this, then circle E. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much about that. For this data now, let me just return center for now. We are going to update the data later. So this is where we return the list basically. So that's pretty much it. And for the floating action button, where we want to add new data, so I'll just create a new button here. So this button basically will be the one to add the new to do basically. So inside this here we'll be using bottom sheet. So inside the bottom sheet as well would add the new data. So here now let's create a new test form field basically. So inside here we can just create a new controller. So let's just say test form field. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So inside the test form field now we can inside our floating action button, I can just say show model bottom sheet. Yeah, okay. So inside our builder, say contest, then return, close this. All right, okay. So return let's just return column. Okay, children, you can give our column some padding first. Let me give it padding. Let me see. Okay, you know what, we update the padding later. Let's just create the test first. So inside the test, I'll just make it simple, nothing crazy about the UI, but probably before I push the update to GitHub, I will update the UI basically. All right, so here now we just want to add a text field basically. So a text one field that holds the controller, so we can get data. So I can just say test field, then inside the test field, the controller like this. So the controller that we just create, then the just a simple decoration. So after that we create a button. So the button is where we are now adding it to do. So inside the button we are getting the title that we are, the title from the user, the title the user input. So we are checking if the title is empty. So if it's not empty now, that's when we are performing this function. And how to perform the function, since we already create a provider and API service, we just read our to-do list provider, then add new to do. So the add new to do that we created here, so this we call the API from the API service, and it will add the new to do. So that's pretty much it. So if I refresh now, let me just click on this so you can see. All right, you can see the to do. If I add new to do now, because let me just add the new to do so we can just refresh here so we can see it. So let me refresh so you can see. Okay, currently we have one to do, so let me add a new to do here. Let me just say new to do from app. So add to do. So that's that. So if I refresh this, you can see it has been added. Yeah, so the next thing now is to fetch the list of to do here. All right, so on the home page now, inside our where is it, inside our column now, inside this data now, that's where we are going to fetch the new to do. So basically, to fetch a new to do now, I'll just create a simple UI with list. So that's where we'll create a new to do. So inside here now, we can, let me change this to a block state, so we can first of all check if the to do is empty. So to check if the to do is empty, we can just check if to do is empty like this. I want to check if it's empty first. So if it's empty, then you can say return not to do's available. Then if it is not empty, then we can just return a list view basically to return the data. So let me just say list view builder, Okay, so let's do this. Okay, turn test index, then just return. Okay, let me just accept this. Okay, let me just update this. So shrink should be true, then the to list. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let me refresh this. Okay, you know what, let me stop the app and just restart it. All right, so let's restart the app. So basically that's pretty much it. So fetch our to-do list. So from our to-do list, now what we are just presenting is the title, and from the title as well, we're creating a checkbox where we can update the to-do and as well a delete function. So everything here is just the function that we have inside this our provider, the add, the toggle, and the delete. So all this our provider is listening to our API service where we have the get, create, and delete and update here. So that's pretty much it. So that's that. So now if I click on this now, you can see that it's check. If I load it from the back end, I mean, if I want to see, you can see that this is true now. I can as well delete. So if I delete this, you can see that it has been updated. So if I refresh, so that's pretty much about our to-do app. This UI will be updated. I don't want this video to be too long. I know that is long already, but if you have stayed the this very time, let me know what you think about this. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. In our next video, we are going to be deploying our backend service with that globe, and also we are going to be creating an authentication like signing to our to-do app basically. So stay to the end, watch and repeat, and as well join my community on Discord, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.